Hi, it's Kai. Number 9. Blackbeard. Let's start out by talking about a real pirate who absolutely transcended through history because of his name, Blackbeard. Blackbeard served as the archetype of the bloodthirsty rogues who once roamed the seas. Only in recent years have archaeologists and historians unearthed astonishing clues that reveal the man behind the legend, one that Blackbeard himself helped spawn. Back then, merchants would whisper his name in fear. Rumors circulated of a rather large man with fierce and wild eyes, a tall fur cap on his head, and who kept a brace of 3 pistols on a holster close to his chest at all times. He had a coarse, coal-black beard that covered his entire face. It grew to monstrous proportions, and he became accustomed to braiding it into little pigtails tied with colorful ribbons. It's believed that Blackbeard's real name was actually Edward Teach, but that doesn't sound nearly as intimidating, and despite his pirating ability, not much is known about his early life. Some feel he was a sailor before he became a pirate, but it's not known for sure. Sometime around 1716, he joined the crew of another pirate known as Benjamin Hornigold and served an apprenticeship on his ship. He learned everything from Hornigold. Through their combined pirating, they were terrors to much of the British Empire, including having a fleet of ships at their beck and call. Blackbeard eventually went and stole a French ship and christened it the Queen Anne's Revenge, a name that would be just as famous as Blackbeard's. He took that French ship and had it hauled up with 40 cannons, far more than most ships, and had a crew of 300 strong. He was known for being ruthless and violent. He would cut off people's fingers and take their jewelry for himself. He ended up dying in a fierce battle, but it wasn't easy for men to take him down. He had to be shot 5 times before he died. In pop culture, Blackbeard is the quintessential pirate and used to showcase the importance of pirates or how grand they can be. He was used in the media, including movies like in the 4th Pirates of the Caribbean film or in the video game Assassin's Creed Black Flag. But because of how much people romanticize him, the details of his actual life and his fictitious tales are blurred. Number 8. Sir Francis Drake. Sir Francis Drake was known for many things, but he was also what you might call a state-approved pirate. Even the Queen of England herself gave him the task to attack enemy vessels in a pirating way, with the silent permission of the crown. She liked him so much that she referred to him as "my pirate," showing that certain leaders are willing to bend the rules so long as it benefits them, and in this case, it most certainly did. Sir Francis Drake was a marvel on the waters, and the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe. He also had a huge part in the conflict between England and Spain. He raided various Spanish ports and captured a Spanish vessel loaded up with treasure. A delighted Queen Elizabeth immediately knighted him upon his return. What's more, he would become a vice admiral in the British Navy and help lead them to victory against the Spanish Armada, proving once again how capable he was when on the sea. In terms of how good he was at pirating, he was pretty darn good, because Forbes once noted that he was the number 2 top-earning pirate in the history of the world, getting over $135 million in stolen loot. His exploits also landed him a place in pop culture, especially in the video game series Uncharted, where the main character claims to be a descendant of Sir Francis Drake. Number 7. Anne Bonny and Mary Read. If you watched Pirates of the Caribbean, you would likely think that much like those movies, women weren't really allowed to be captains or pirates. And for the most part, that was true. Most women, or wenches as they were called back then, were told to just do servant work. But there were indeed female pirates, and Anne Bonny and Mary Read were the most famous of all. Anne Bonny was nobody's wench, and if anyone got in her face, she had no problem stabbing them. Or worse, she was quite the lady. But she disguised herself as a man so that she could be seen as a fearsome pirate, and she was. She eventually joined the crew of Calico Jack, and he was the only one on the ship that knew she was a woman, and the two became secret lovers. Amongst her crewmates was another woman disguised as a man, Mary Read. Mary Read had been in disguise since she was 13 years old. She had joined the military before her life at sea and had amazing skills in battle. The two became great friends, and Anne told Mary the truth of her disguise and gender, either out of trust or perhaps in a more romantic way. In response to Anne, Mary also removed her disguise. Calico Jack became jealous of the relationship Anne and Mary shared and assumed they were lovers. He threatened to cut Mary's throat. In an attempt to soothe his jealousy, Anne let Jack in on Mary's secret, although this remained a secret from everyone else on the ship. Captain Jack coerced Mary to join the relationship, thus making them a threesome. Not much is known about the relationship, except that both women were pregnant when they were captured in 1720 near Jamaica by the British. The pirates on the ship were tried and found guilty, but because Bonnie and Reed were pregnant, their lives were spared and they were imprisoned. Reed died from a fever within a year, but no one really knows what happened to Anne and her child. What do you think happened to this fierce female pirate? Let me know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe button too. Number 6. Sir Henry Morgan. Known as the most successful pirate of the buccaneering era, Captain Henry Morgan was a powerful captain, a remarkable leader, and a fearsome conqueror. He was extremely ambitious and willing to do whatever it took to get what he wanted. For example, while raiding one town, he had his crew lock up the entire population inside of a church so that they could raid without interference. Another time, he went and made a human shield of priests so that no one would dare touch him as he moved about a town he was plundering. He was even contracted by many, including the leader of Jamaica, at one time to attack Spanish vessels and plunder their ports and keep them safe. This made him a hero in the eyes of the English, and he was later dubbed Knight Bachelor, despite him supposedly in custody by the English after their war with Spain had ended. Eventually, he went back to Jamaica and served as their governor for many years, even passing some anti-piracy laws. Not unlike others before and after him, his life was romanticized after his death, and he became the inspiration for pirate-themed works of fiction across a range of genres, including being the mascot for the popular Captain Morgan spiced rum, where the titular Morgan is portrayed by various actors to showcase the suave style of the long-past captain. Number 5. The Barbarossa Brothers. Let's talk about Arouge and Hazir Barbarossa. These two became rich by capturing European vessels in the Mediterranean Sea. They started out small, but eventually they were gusty enough to go after Spanish ships, which were very powerful in the 1500s. By 1516, the Ottoman Sultan had essentially put Arouge in charge of the entire Barbary coast, which says a lot about their skill and ability. And Hazir would eventually go and take his brother's mantle a few years later after his brother would be killed in battle. Hazir kept fighting on and found himself being a target of a holy crusade. I mean that literally, as the Pope of the time had actually commissioned an entire fleet of ships to hunt him down and kill him. This might just be a case of someone moving heaven and earth to go after someone. He spent years fighting off various Christian enemies, but they failed, and he would later go on to retire in Constantinople and died there instead of at sea. Number 4. Charles Vane. Charles Vane was an English pirate and the leader of the ship known as the Ranger. He's one of the pirates most associated with the latter parts of the golden age of piracy, and was known for being quite crafty, as well as getting his fleet into trouble in the early 1700s. He pirated all over the sea, causing mayhem, but he was eventually captured. But he agreed to stop pirating if he got a pardon, which he got, and then rebuked and went right back to pirating. Vane was known for his cruelty, often beating, torturing, and killing sailors from ships he captured, which made him a person that England as a whole wanted to get off the board, so to speak. The problem was that he was really good at pirating and commanding ships in battle, and getting out of tight spots, such as when he found himself trapped by the royal governor Woodes Rogers, who had trapped Vane's ship and said it was too big to escape from the harbor entrances. So, what did Vane do? He lit his own ship on fire and pointed it at his enemy's fleet. The fleet had to scatter to avoid it, and Vane was able to commandeer another ship and sail to safety. But his luck eventually ran out as a hurricane marooned him on an uninhabited island. He was rescued, but it was by a British ship, and after being tried and convicted, he was hanged for his crimes in 1721 at a place called Port Royal. Number 3. L'Oulonnais. L'Oulonnais, also known as Jean de Villeneuve, was both an outlaw and a state-sponsored outlaw. He was known for terrorizing the Caribbean Sea in the late 1600s. He was one of the cruelest pirates there ever was. Early in his career, L'Oulonnais and his crew became shipwrecked off the coast of Campeche. Spanish soldiers attacked the pirates, killing all but L'Oulonnais. Although wounded, he escaped by rubbing sand and blood all over his body and then burying himself amongst the dead. After the Spanish left, wearing his disguise, he made his way to the city. Several slaves helped him in his escape, and he sailed home to Tortuga. The pirate historian Alexander Exquemelin wrote that L'Oulonnais would hack his victims to pieces bit by bit or squeeze a cord around their necks until their eyes popped out. This is obviously very vivid and could be exaggerated, but given that many pirates were very cruel, it's not really impossible. Another legend about him is that when L'Oulonnais thought one of his men had betrayed him, he cut out the man's heart and ate it. But the joke would eventually be on him because he died by being eaten by cannibals in 1668. Number 2. Black Bart Roberts. If you wish to look for a pirate who arguably had the most success in terms of taking vessels for himself, look no further than the man known as Black Bart Roberts. During his day in the golden age of piracy, he captured over 470 vessels between America and West Africa. He is also noted for creating his own pirate code and adopting an early variant of the skull and crossbones flag, further cementing him as an influential pirate for all those to come. The most ironic part about Bart Roberts isn't his success, it's how he became a pirate, because he definitely didn't desire to be that when he started his life on the sea. In fact, he was the second mate on a slave ship when it was captured by pirates. Those pirates forced Roberts and other crew members to join their crew or else. So he did. The captain of the pirates, Hal Davis, took a liking to Roberts and soon realized he had impressive navigation skills and consulted him often. Roberts at first wasn't fond of the idea of being a pirate, but that changed when Davis died and the crew elected him the new captain. Roberts was described as a tall, good-looking man who loved expensive clothes and jewelry. He was often seen dressed in a gorgeous crimson waistcoat with a luxurious hat which had a unique red feather. He wore a heavy gold chain with a diamond cross. He was well-dressed even in battles. Fast forward to 1722, and Captain Chaloner Ogle of the Royal Navy found Roberts' fleet and a massive battle ensued. In the end, Roberts was killed. His crew threw his body into the sea, as was Roberts' wish, and without their captain, they surrendered. They were tried for their crimes, making it the biggest pirate trial in history, and sentenced to death. Number 1. Edward Lowe. There are many pirates that have been labeled as glorious anti-heroes over the generations, and as such, people have rallied around these figures, despite them being criminals. However, in the case of Edward Lowe, you can honestly say he was a villain, much like the evil, fictitious character Captain Hook, minus the hook. Because when it came to cruelty, Edward Lowe was king. Granted, it was a very effective strategy for him as it led to many victories and his name became a legend, but it came at a cost. He was known for using his fleet to capture other crews and then torturing them for some time before eventually killing them off. While many pirates did kill, this kind of torture was reserved for those like Lowe who seemed to revel in it. He was a very capable captain and had his own fleet for the years he was operational. The problem was that he wasn't above sacrificing others to reach his goals, which in one case meant abandoning one of his sister ships to a British vessel, even though the captain could have easily beaten them and saved everyone. His cruelty eventually led to his crew abandoning him, and his fate was never truly known. Some say he was hanged, some say he lived in places like Brazil, but his actions cost him his captaincy, and for a pirate, that's a fate worse than death. What's a pirate's favorite letter? You think it's R, but it's really the C. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these real-life pirates? Have you ever heard about any of them before? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time. Bye!